Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for tuning in to Live with Andy. I'm your host, Andy Dybala. I appreciate you giving me your eyes and your ears on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. At least it's beautiful here in West Texas. It's about 90 degrees and sunny all day. I know some of you out there, like Norman Smith, Wendy Sloan. I know some of you out there dealing with hurricanes in Florida. And I hope you guys are all safe out there. And if the surge gets too high, make sure you wear a life vest. That's what you got to deal with for living in the tropical oasis of Florida. Every once in a while, you got to deal with a big hurricane, and that's actually, I guess, might lead me into one of the things might accidentally lead me into one of the things I'm going to talk about this afternoon. So I've done a lot of research and shows in regards to these genetically engineered mosquitoes that Bill Gates has been working on, where he takes out certain chromosomes and adds certain chromosomes, and he's trying to eliminate malaria and dengue fever and Ebola and other diseases transmitted through mosquitoes. And he has been releasing these genetically engineered mosquitoes all throughout the world through the past couple of years. We've seen some malaria breakouts going on in Florida and Texas over the summer, and I'm thinking some of these breakouts have to deal with the genetically engineered Bill Gates mosquitoes. So I have actually a little video here I'm going to play you. It's called The Mosquito Factory. Now, this is the world's largest mosquito factory, and it's in Medellin, Colombia. You know, where the drug cartels run rampant, according to Narcos and real life. But let's see if I got it playing here. I'm sharing it correctly. Looks like I am. Oop, nope, I'm sharing the wrong one. The wrong one. Give me 1 second. So this mosquito factory, got too many tabs open. There we go. I don't know what's going on. All right, so this mosquito factory is the largest one in the world, and it's a breeding ground for these Bill Gates mosquitoes. It's a 3-minute video, so I'm going to let it play through.
Hi, I'm Scott O'Neill here in Medellin, Colombia today, and I'm at the world's biggest mosquito factory for the World Mosquito Program. We're making in here 30 million mosquitoes a week. Come and have a look. We're doing it for a very serious reason. Cities like Medellin have suffered from diseases like dengue, Zika, chikungunya for decades, but not anymore. We've been able to bring the solution of Wolbachia mosquitoes to this city. When this bacteria called Wolbachia gets introduced into the mosquito, it stops their ability to transmit dengue. We release mosquitoes that have Wolbachia, and then they go and mate, and Wolbachia gets passed into the wild mosquito population. If we're going to control these diseases in all the tropical cities of the world, it's going to require a lot of mosquitoes. The mosquito life cycle starts with the egg, and in this room, we've got a lot of eggs. Each one of these strips, these tiny black dots, are up to 10,000 mosquito eggs. Across all of these strips, about 1.5 million dried eggs waiting to hatch. In this tray, we've got the newly hatched eggs. They're little larvae, So small you can hardly see them. They're going to sit in here for a few days and eat and get bigger until they look like these ones over here. They're starting to turn into pupae. We're wanting to do the next step of sorting the males from the females. We want to do that so we can manipulate the sex ratio in the cages to be more female than male. The bottom ones along here are the boys, and the ones at the top are the girls. They're bigger. From here, they're going into the adult cages. We have adults that we continuously grow in what we call our brood stock. And then over here, we have the mass-produced mosquitoes getting ready to give us the eggs to go out directly into the field. It's crazy how they sound. You might wonder, what do we feed all these mosquitoes here? Well, I can tell you, we've got the good stuff in here. On the top shelf, literally, we've got the blood. They love it. Once the mosquitoes are grown, they're ready to go out into the field. The first way is to get the eggs and package them in a gelatin capsule with food. Voila. There's 300 eggs in here and enough food for the mosquitoes to be able to grow. They just need to be dropped in water. The other approach is to take the adults themselves. Here we have 300, and they can be released off the back of a motorbike. Get up!
I gotta pause that for a second. So I imagine you're sitting there in like a cafeteria and you're just enjoying your sandwich, and all of a sudden a guy drives by on a motorcycle and just drops a bunch of mosquito. He like opens up a bottle and starts, you're like, what is he doing over there? Like, then you just see all these mosquitoes come and start attacking. You're like, what the fuck, man? I'm trying to enjoy my ham and Swiss over here, buddy. I'd like get off my, I'd get out of my chair and go chase a guy down and tackle him. Now they're dropping them out of planes. They're packaging them. They're literally packaging up genetically engineered mosquitoes in pills, riding around the countryside and tossing them in lakes, tossing them in ponds, tossing them in water, like roadside creeks, just so their genetically engineered mosquitoes overtake the natural mosquitoes and become the dominant species. So hopefully in the future we eradicate malaria, dengue, Zika, and other diseases and viruses. Hopefully. And hopefully we don't create some mutant strain monster virus from these mosquitoes. And boy, do they love blood.
Or even packaged into a drone for aerial release. Over half the world's population is currently suffering or at risk of contracting these diseases. We have a solution, and our goal is to scale and deliver it to communities around the world that need it.
So that was just the world's largest mosquito factory. I'm not going to dig too much into the mosquitoes here on Neighborhood News Hour, but I am going to be digging into some genetically engineered lifestyle that will be on our that is on our doorstep and is sometimes in our living room and sometimes in our gullets, and we don't even know it at this point. So that's kind of the beginning part of the show. I'm going to be digging into I was going to start out on the UNC Chapel Hill shooters, Mitch McConnell passing out. I'm going to get to that stuff. Trump kind of maybe endorsing Sfarmy. I'm going to nickname him Sfarmy. Trump may be endorsing Sfarmy for vice presidential candidate. I'm going to get to that stuff a little bit, but I just wanted to get to this genetically engineered stuff, because this stuff will lead me into the University of Chapel Hill, because as you know, if you've been following Andy Dybala, UNC Chapel Hill is where Ralph Barrick in his lab created the SARS virus. And so just some other things, some other genetically engineered technologies that are coming about here. I'm trying to pull up the the graphic here real quick. So this was just in the past year. UAB announces first clinical grade transplant of gene edited pig kidneys into brain dead human. So what they're trying to do eventually is be able to do human to pig organ transplants. And this would be a lot cheaper than human to human transplants. You can grow organs inside of pigs, but there are a lot of diseases that can come about when you're doing these type of procedures. So this is why, maybe they started working on these SADS to SARS viruses, these and some of these other viruses in China on the pig. You saw them like burning the pigs in the pits, and they got the fresh seafood markets over there. There's a lot of stuff going on in China with some of this technology. So the University of Alabama, Birmingham, UAB announces today the first peer-reviewed research outlining the successful transplant of genetically modified clinical-grade pig kidneys into a brain-dead human individual, replacing the recipient's native kidneys. These positive results demonstrate how xenotransplantation could address the worldwide organ shortage crisis. Like growing up, you always heard like wise tales about uh China, like never go to China, you'll end up in an ice tub with your kidney removed. And and here we are. If you're a pig, that seems to be the case, but this is actually going on at UAB right now. But this work kind of coincided with some of the labs in China with the CASNAS workshops. I'll get to that later. In the study published in the American Journal of Transplantation, UAB researchers tested the first human preclinical model for transplanting genetically modified pig kidneys into humans. The study recipient had 2 genetically modified pig kidneys transplanted in his abdomen after his native kidneys were removed. The organs were procured from a genetically modified pig at a pathogen-free facility. So they are like they're doing with the mosquitoes, they are also doing this to pigs as well. And they are now serving them on your plate. I'll be sharing that story here in a little bit. Along with our partners, we have made significant investments in xenotransplantation for almost a decade, hoping for the kinds of results published today, said Sulwin Vickers, Dean of the UAB Herznig School of Medicine. Today's results are a remarkable achievement for humanity in an advancement xenotransplant into the clinical realm. With this study, our research teams have also demonstrated that the descendant model has significant potential to propel xenotransplantation field forward. Now, I do have a little video I'm going to show you here on xenotransplantation. Let me see if I can figure this out here. Stop share screen on that one. Sorry for this taking so long in the dead air, but here we go. Pig to human kidney transplant 3D animation. UAB.
For years, researchers have worked toward transplanting animal kidneys into humans. It's a race against time. There are almost 600,000 Americans on dialysis in need of a life-saving kidney transplant.
Yes, this does make you a
240
xenophobe.
Americans dying every day on dialysis, and many of these deaths could be prevented if an unlimited supply of kidneys were available. Pigs are the most promising donor source. Researchers have been able to genetically engineer pig kidneys that can coexist with the human immune system. Surgeons have made multiple attempts to transplant animal organs into humans. But no one has been able to demonstrate how the entire process of transplant of a pig kidney to human would work in the real world. Until now. In seminal peer-reviewed research in the American Journal of Transplantation, a team at the University of Alabama at Birmingham revealed the results of the world's first clinical-grade pig-to-human kidney transplant. Notably, the study was conducted to meet the same standards as a phase 1 clinical trial, making it mirror, as much as possible, every step of a normal transplant between humans. They started with unique pigs, genetically engineered with 10 gene edits. 3 deletions disabled genes that would trigger the human immune system and cause rejection. A 4th deletion prevents the kidneys from growing too large in the recipient after transplant. The rest are human genes added to the pig genome to prevent the recipient's immune system from attacking the organ. A herd of donor pigs live in a DPF, a designated pathogen-free facility designed for clinical use. The human recipient was a brain-dead man whose family gave permission for this crucial test of animal-to-human organ donation. Pig donor kidneys must be tissue-matched to human recipients, just like human kidneys. The UAB team designed and performed the world's first test to ensure tissue compatibility from a pig to a human. In separate tests, the researchers also confirmed.
I just want to throw this out there right now to my family and friends who's ever in charge of my body. If I ever become brain dead like this Jim Parsons man, please don't replace my kidneys with kidneys for scientific advancement. Just let me go a natural way.
There were no viruses transmitted. Both are critical to the wider implementation of pig-to-human kidney transplantation. After the pig's kidneys were removed, they were transported to UAB hospital, just like a human donor organ. Meanwhile, surgeons removed the recipient's kidneys. Then they attached the pig kidneys to the recipient's arteries and veins, as well as to the bladder. Within 23 minutes, the kidneys had produced urine. The kidneys remained viable and made urine for more than 3 days. And genetically modified pig cells were not detected in the recipient's blood. This study is an important step toward ending the organ shortage and preventing tens of thousands of deaths each year.
Maybe quit putting poison into your body by eating McDonald's and using hair chemicals and working in mines. Maybe quit putting poison into your body instead of putting pig kidneys into your body. That might be the real answer there. But yes, putting genetically. See, I'm trying to find my mouse here. There we go. Putting genetically engineered pig kidneys with a bunch of deleted genes into your body doesn't seem like anything good can come out of that. It seems like some type of weird Frankenstein experiment. And like I said, if I'm ever in that state of mind where I'm brain dead, please, family and friends, don't put the pig kidneys in my body. I'd greatly appreciate it. So, yeah, they talked about the genetically engineered pigs. So we got genetically engineered mosquitoes. We got genetically engineered pigs that we are using for human to animal organ harvesting. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we are putting them into our body now. So this was actually just this past spring, the first university to put gene edited livestock into the human food supply. So not only are they working on the organ transplant from animals, that we are now consuming gene edited livestock. And this is at the University of Washington State. A sausage at Washington State University has made history. WSU received U.S. Food and Drug Administration authorization to have gene-edited pigs enter the food chain for human consumption, in this case as tasty German-style sausages. It's important for a university to set the precedent by working with federal regulators to get these animals introduced into the food supply, said John Oatley, a professor in the School of Molecular Biosciences. If we don't go through that process, all of the research we're doing is for naught because it will never make it out into the public. Oatley uses the gene editing tool CRISPR to improve genetic traits in livestock and is working toward an FDA approval for a line of gene edited pigs. So we are also using mRNA vaccines on our livestock as well. So they're going to be their genes are going to be CRISPRed from birth, and then they're going to have mRNA vaccines, and then we're going to eat them. And I know antibiotics in the livestock wreaked havoc on the human immune system. I wonder what that will do to ours. He undertook the investigational food use authorization process for 5 gene-edited pigs to demonstrate that food made from the animals is safe to eat and that it is possible for an academic institution to achieve this type of FDA authorization. Gene editing can make changes in an organism's DNA that could occur in nature or through selective breeding, but would take much longer without a tool like CRISPR. The FDA authorization is investigational and limited to these particular pigs, but shows that gene editing livestock to quickly produce desirable traits for improved food production is a viable strategy for helping feed the planet's growing population. The 2-year-old pigs were processed at WSU Meat Lab, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture inspected the meat as it does with all meat products. Working with Meat Lab, meat scientist Blake Foraker made some of the pork into sausages, which will be used in catering services that raise travel funds for the student members of WSU's meat judging teams. The pigs were originally gene edited in a way that would enable researchers to use them to sire offspring with traits from another male pig, known as surrogate sires. This technology first gene edits male animals to be sterile by knocking out a gene called nano-S2 that is specific to male fertility. Now, this is exactly what they are doing with the mosquitoes. It's called gene drive technology. Exactly what they were doing with the mosquitoes, and it was Bill Gates' project that he's been working on since the early 2010s. Now here, we've moved to pigs, and we're getting to beef next. We're consuming this shit. Talk about Wendy's and McDonald's is bad enough. Bill Gates. These animals can then be implanted with another male's stem cells that create sperm with that male's desired traits to be passed on to the next generation. That sounds like some weird gay bio orgy. Disgusting. Essentially, a high-tech form of selective breeding, surrogate sire technology can greatly expand dissemination of valuable genetics in livestock. It has the potential to not just improve meat quality, but the health and resilience of livestock in the face of changing environmental conditions, a critical goal for increasing protein sources in developing nations. Blah, 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 blah. I don't think I'm going to read the rest of this. Would you eat the sausage, though? Does that look good? They probably don't tell you till afterwards. You're probably gonna go to a baseball game, smash down on some sausage. You're gonna be, oh, that was pretty good. I'm gonna go back for another one. And then you look at the sign. It says gene edited sausage. And you're like, what the hell did I just eat? So they also, it's not just pigs. U.S. FDA clears way for the CRISPR beef cows. Slick coat cattle produced with gene editing pose low risk agency says. The FDA has paved the way for gene-edited beef to hit the U.S. market. The agency declared March 7th that 2 gene-edited beef cattle produced by Aceligen do not raise any safety concerns. The FDA determined that the 2 cows, which have a genetic trait that gives them a short, slick coat, are low risk. That determination means the agency does not expect Aceligen to seek regulatory approval before marketing products, including food made from the cattle. This is the first time the FDA has made a low-risk determination and used its discretion not to enforce pre-market approval of gene-edited animal for food use. So they're saying, like, we're not even going to test the food out. We just see this is low risk. Look the other way. Go ahead and eat the gene-edited cows. So we're getting pig kidneys. We're eating gene-edited pigs, and we're eating gene-edited beef. And I know we're eating CRISPRed fish as well. That was in the early 2000s that Australia started doing that. And we're being gene edited ourselves. You know, is this what the mRNA was about? Are they trying to edit out the genes they don't like in our human DNA? Because some of the society, they just, hey, if we can edit out the people who like Trump, if we can edit out the rich and greedy people, if we can edit out the murderers, the sex offenders, the rapists, if we can edit out those genes, if we can edit out alcoholism, if we can edit out drug abuse, you know, if we could edit out all these things through mRNA and gene editing, wouldn't that be for the betterment of society? You're evil, Andy Dybala, for not wanting your genes to be edited. And so this almost brings me to the UNC Chapel Hill Ralph Barrick shooting. Almost. Just want you to read the top of this report. So I've done a lot of research and work showing Ralph Barrick cooperated with China, Xi Jinping, and the Wuhan lab. He actually went over there multiple times and took a bunch of pictures, did a bunch of made a bunch of speeches, did a lot of collaborative research with the Wuhan lab when it came to the SARS virus, which they were genetically engineering from scratch with traits, desirable traits, less desirable traits, and more desirable traits. So at the top of this article here, let me see if I'll zoom in for you. U.S.-China dialogue and workshop on the challenges of emerging infections, laboratory safety, global health security, and responsible conduct in the use of gene editing in viral infectious disease research. This is what we've been talking about, ladies and gentlemen. He's, she's, theys, thems. It's what we've been talking about. Now, if you look very closely in this picture here, see that lady in like the plaid coat, the man right over her left shoulder, that big guy, kind of bald with white hair, wearing glasses. I don't know. I can't zoom in any farther than this. That is Dr. Ralph Barrick. So he's in China, January 8th through 10th in 2019, the year the virus was released, talking about emerging infections, laboratory safety, global health security, and responsible conduct in the use of gene editing and viral infectious disease research. And he's one of the speakers. Dr. Gao's there. Dr. Chen, and see right there. Dr. Ralph Barrick from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, delivered the presentation on behalf of Dr. David Swain. Should be calling him David Swine. Maybe pronounced swine. I'm not sure with all this pig research that's going on from the Agricultural Research Service of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Dr. Swain was unavailable. Reservoirs for avian influenza exit in the wild aquatic fowls such as ducks and can spill over to domestic poultry such as chickens through exposure and adaptation. China and the U.S. are top two global producers of poultry and have common interest in controlling disease outbreaks. Blah, blah, blah. You know what that stuff's all about. Controlling the next pandemic, which they did wholeheartedly. Just to let you know. Last thing on Ralph Baric before I get to the shooting. So the biologists rushed to recreate the China coronavirus from its genetic code. Now this is we're talking about gene editing. We all know, those that follow me, that Ralph Baric, I think, created the virus. I know he created the virus from scratch. But was that the virus that was released? I think so. It wasn't natural at all. It's indistinguishable from its natural. The synthetic version is indistinguishable from its natural counterpart. So, and this paper proves it, because this is because they created their own synthetic version. When the virus first broke out, SARS-CoV-2. Biologists rushed to recreate the China coronavirus from its genetic code. Synthetic versions of the deadly virus could help test treatments, but what are the risks when viruses can be synthesized from scratch? The world is watching the alarm as China struggles to contain a dangerous new virus now being called SARS-CoV-2. Blah, 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 blah. They don't know how to treat it. But in one university of North Carolina lab, there's a different race. Researchers are trying to create a copy of the virus from scratch. Dum, dum, dum. Read by Ralph Baric, an expert in coronaviruses, which get their name from the crown-shaped spike they use to enter human cells. The North Carolina team expects to recreate the virus starting only from computer readouts of its genetic sequence posted online by the Chinese labs last month. The remarkable ability to boot up viruses from genetic instructions is made possible by companies that manufacture custom DNA molecules such as Integrated DNA Technology, Twist Bioscience, and Atome. By ordering the right genes, which cost a few $1,000s, and then stitching them together to create a copy of the coronavirus genome, it's possible to inject the genetic material into cells and jumpstart the virus to life. So you can create a virus from scratch for a couple $1,000s if you know what you're doing, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a man like Ralph Baric, who's done it since 2008, behalf of DARPA. The ability to make a lethal virus from mail-order DNA was first demonstrated 20 years ago. That was done in Canada. It's enough of a bioterrorism concern that companies carefully monitor who is ordering which genes, but it's also an important way to respond to a sudden outbreak, since synthetic virus recipes give researchers powerful ways to study treatments, vaccines, and how mutations can make it more dangerous. So you just create your little a synthetic version of the virus, you let it infect a human cell, then you got your natural virus. And you're ready to rock and roll. When a synthetic virus is better than the real thing. Barrick's North Carolina lab, which specializes in engineering viruses, has previously butted heads with Washington agencies over the work, which has included synthesizing new, never-before-seen coronaviruses that can infect mice. I've shown that video before. I think you can watch that video on my YouTube homepage. In 2014, the National Institute of Health froze funding to several labs, including Barrick's, over concerns that such research was too risky. The funding was later reinstated. For the China virus, Barrick said in a telephone interview, his team placed an order for matching DNA from a manufacturer last month. Their first step was to go online and look at genetic sequences of the virus. They then compared several available sequences, which differ slightly, and picked a consensus version to have manufactured. Once Barrett gets his DNA, something that could take a month, he plans to inject the genetic instructions into cells. If things go as planned, the cells should begin making actual infectious viral particles. By rolling their own germs, scientists can get a hold of viruses even if they can't obtain them directly from a country, especially one that's in the grip of an epidemic. Barrick says so far, samples of the live virus from patients have not been made widely available from China. This is the future in terms of how the medical research community responds to a new threat. So I just have one of the main reasons I'm bringing this up is this one of the reasons why I'm a caveman. My shows are called Caveman Science. Not the sharpest crayon in the box. But is this the reason we have all those different variants out there in the world? Why it just seemed like they were popping up left and right? If we're making vaccines based off these synthetically derived viruses, and like we're putting those into the population and those aren't even out there, and all of a sudden, oh, there's a new strain of corona. Is this why? Because they're just doing mail order DNA SARS viruses and just using those as the basis? It seems a bit reckless, if you ask me. If you're not using like the actual strain sent from Wuhan, seems a bit reckless. But who am I, ladies and gentlemen? Who am I? I'm just a caveman. So while we're on the subject of China and UNC, might as well bring it up. While I was actually on air the other day, I was actually playing my video. While I was playing my video of me being on the Gilling School doorstep, making my Ralph Barrick Lab video, while I was showcasing that on air, I should have been paying attention to Twitter if I was doing a neighborhood news hour show. Well, while that was going on, while I was showcasing my video, there was an actual shooting going on at the UNC campus. And one thing I noticed today, I've been watching some mainstream media in the morning with my lady friend. We watch the Today Show when we first wake up, and God forbid, sometimes I want to shoot myself when I'm watching the Today Show, but you gotta Lavelle. Sometimes my lady friend wants to shoot me when I'm watching the Today Show too, because I can't shut up and can't quit talking trash about what they're saying. But nevertheless, when there's any other type of shooting that goes on throughout the country, especially on a college campus, it's all over the news. This one was definitely not on on their radars whatsoever this morning. I don't even think they mentioned it at all. And I think that just goes because it's it's a couple of Asian fellows that were affected by the shooting. So UNC graduate student charged with the murder and fatal shooting of associate professor. So I believe he was actually appearing in court today. So the suspect in the fatal shooting of a faculty member at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill on Monday is a graduate student at the school, UNC police said in a news release Tuesday. Talil Tyrone will call and correct me. The grad student was charged with first-degree murder and having a gun on education property in court Tuesday. He did not enter a plea and was ordered held without bond. The victim was identified as Xi Yan, an associate professor in the Department of Applied Physical Sciences, who had worked for UNC since 2019. The two knew each other, UNC Police Chief Brian James said Tuesday. Key was a grad student in the same department, and Yan was his faculty advisor. According to Key's UNC biographical page, which has been deleted but is available on the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine, Key entered the school in 2022 and listed his previous education as LSU and Wuhan University, the page said. Now, this just seems odd to me. There seems to be a lot going on. There's like I was just showing you the Ralph Barrick, the U.S. China dialogue and workshop on the challenges of emerging infections, laboratory safety, global health, security, and responsible conduct, and the use of gene editing and viral infectious disease research. Now you got two gentlemen from China. The shooter actually went to Wuhan University, and the victim went to Hangzhou. Sorry, I can't pronounce them correctly, but Hangzhou for his education. Then they both came over here to America. Now, George Webb has talked a lot about the 1,000 Talents program and how the Chinese, use this as a tool to kind of, spy on our American universities. You see a lot of this bio research going on in our universities, and you see us cooperating with China. They want to know what's going on inside of the bio labs. Especially if we're putting blame on Xingzi Li and Wuhan for the breakout of the coronavirus, even though it was made in our UNC lab. We got evidence of our professors going back and forth to China to train their staff on how to run biolabs. That was the American way, the American bio way. So it just seems odd to me that one you think these gentlemen would be friends. I know it's kind of, you don't want to be like, hey, because you're Chinese and you're Chinese, you two should be friends. But you think they would at least get along in America. It's probably not that big of a social circle. So the fact that one came out and actually on campus went and committed murder to another Chinese student, and it's like to me there has to be some connections to the 1,000 Talents program, to Chinese spy network, to this Ralph Barrick, Xingzi Li, Wuhan lab connection. There has to be more to the story. And I've been trying to do some research and trying to do some digging. I know Jan had his Jan research group. They were digging into nanoparticles and nanospores and I don't know, different like lighting techniques and stuff. I'm a caveman. These two gentlemen are a lot more intelligent than me, and I can't comment on what their work was exactly. But they were definitely digging. There was definitely a cooperation going on between the U.S. and China, and I don't know if one was going to whistle, if something was going to happen, but it just seems that it's sad. It's a sad story, and we're going to be doing some more digging to get to the bottom of this. And if any of you guys out there got some Wuhan connections for me for these guys, I would greatly appreciate it. Can anyone tell me why the sound on my iPhone is going away? Andy, you got to talk too loud. CCP has hundreds of unidentified police stations worldwide outside of China. They police their citizens globally. No escape. That is true. They showcase a couple of those stories on they got police stations all over Canada, all over the United States, and it was about like, hey, you got to like pay your dues back to China, even though you're living elsewhere in the world. And if you're representing China here in the United States, you got to represent them well, or they'll take you back. And yeah, we all know they like to monitor their systems. They got their social police system. They're implementing right now with their phones and stuff. So thank you, Aaron Adler, for pointing that out. That the Chinese police, they're everywhere. They're monitoring everything. CIA too. Okay, where are we at here? Aaron, you're more than welcome. More than welcome to come on the show at any time. All right, I got some other just basic news here, and then we're gonna hit the road, ladies and gentlemen. So earlier today, Trump was on may have been last night, I'm not sure, but I saw this video today. It was on Glenn Beck's show, and he was talking about Vivek Ramaswamy. And he said he would be a decent choice as his vice presidential pick. And we did some research here on Monday, digging into his connections to George Soros, and this would be a big get for Soros. If Soros could get one of his guys on the Trump team as vice president, here he has Blinken. Here he has Blinken in his back pocket on the Biden side. And if he gets Vivek in on the Trump side, he won't even care who wins the presidency this time around. You'll see let's push Donald J. Trump. Historic landslide, 100 million votes, 120 million votes. I got Vivek in his back pocket. Here we go. Donald Trump on Glenn Beck earlier today.
Last question. You said that you weren't.
Actually, I think I got to see if I shared the audio. I'm not sure if I shared audio. There we go.
You weren't going, but you would be watching the debate for a vice president. Have you thought of Vice President Ramaswamy?
Well, I think he's great. Look, anybody that said I'm the best president in a generation, I don't know, you'll have to define generation, but it's a long time. And he said it a couple of times, and he said it in 100 years. So I have to like a guy like that. You know, I can't get upset with him, but he's a smart guy. He's a young guy. He's got a lot of talent. He's a very, very intelligent person. He's got good energy, and he could be in some form of something. I tell you, I think he'd be very good. I think he's very good. I think he's really distinguished himself. He's starting to get out there a little bit. He's getting a little bit controversial. I got to tell him, be a little bit careful, because some things you have to hold in just a little bit, right? But he's got a lot of good energy, I will tell you, and he's been very nice to me, and you know, most of them have, other than Christie. Don't forget, Christie left with an 8% approval rating.
Oh yeah, it was horrible.
He was tied up in Bridgegate. The whole thing. It was a mess.
Christie went on one of those Sunday morning news shows, and he called Trump a felon. It's like, I would not approve a felon. It was like, settle down, buddy. Go eat a bridge.
It was a disaster.
It was amazing how there is the new generation and the old generation of Republicans that just seem to be.
By the way, Glenn Beck's white hair with that white button down, just rocking it with that white mic. He's the great white hope at this point, ladies and gentlemen. The right wing's great white hope. And if you zoom in close enough, see, those are hair plugs. Just a little FYI.
Completely out of touch with what time it is.
No.
So
they don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't. And Mitch McConnell, Mitch has to go. He's given them trillions of dollars that he could have stopped. You know, now they can't.
Mitch McConnell. I can't wait to play his video next.
Painting on the fact that they have trillions of dollars. That was given by Mitch and 10 of his people that voted as he demanded that they vote. And, you know, it's not that he's a leader. He raises a lot of money and he gives it to senators.
Yeah, no.
And it's sort of like he buys his leadership. It's
exactly
terrible.
Right.
But he gave them all of this Green New Deal money, and it's probably $9 trillion if you add it up. and it's like throwing it out the window. It's a horrible thing, and it does cause inflation, but it's like throwing it out the window. It's a horrible thing.
President Donald Trump, thank you very much, sir. We pray for you. Millions of Americans stand behind you, and I hope more and more Americans.
So there's Donald Trump endorsing Vivek. I guess he didn't really endorse him. He just said he might be a good VP pick. And if Soros gets into the Trump stream, we're going to see a landslide. If he actually picked Vivek, I would guess we would see a landslide Trump victory. Can you imagine? Oh, the horror. A speech in Mitch McConnell giving away all the RNC money. Speaking of that, guys, see his little press conference today when he was asked for running for re-election. This is what happens when you work past retirement. When you should be sitting. When you should be sitting on the lazy boy, and you're like, I'm sure he has a giant 200-acre farm somewhere in Virginia. Probably a 500-acre farm in Kentucky too. But just go sit on your farm, go have a beer, and go enjoy your Alzheimer's. What are we doing with the Joe Bidens? What are we doing with the Feinsteins? Thank God Pelosi's gone. What are we doing with these dinosaurs? This just goes to show you. This will just go to show you that all the elections are rigged. Both sides, left and this is why you didn't see the right back Donald Trump at all, because they know the elections are rigged to get them and them into office as well. And this is all just you talk about being a puppet. How many of our political leaders are just puppets? Just puppets from their handlers.
What am I talking about? What? Running for re-election in 2026. That's right.
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026? All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute. Senator Benny.
Okay.
Somebody else have a question? Please speak up.
What am I talking?
I don't. So if somebody has a question, please speak up. Her saying that statement at the end right there, Mitch McConnell's going to start responding all of a sudden is preposterous. It's he just had a brain fart for a 40-second brain fart where someone asked him about running for re-election. He just goes, if there was a microphone behind him, you would have just heard him shitting his pants and pissing all over the floor. It's we need to the White House can't be a nursing home. I'm sorry, it can't be. That can't be the way our country goes down. We need to get these dinosaurs out of office, and we need some new young blood in there. Let the young blood run us into the ground, because this old blood ain't working. So another little clip this is just clip time, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't noticed by now. So another little clip I'm going to get into is Tucker Carlson was actually on the Adam Carolla show. And he got into a few spicy subjects, but the one clip I'm going to play from this is you hear a lot of rumors about Barack Obama and his sexual proclivities, and And is he straight? Is he gay? Is Michelle Obama a man or dude? I just kind of always ignored that stuff. It was never really touched in the mainstream media or anything. It was always just kind of a conspiracy. I'd like to joke around about it, but I never thought it was serious. But here, if someone like Tucker, he actually has this guy, Larry Sinclair, he's going to have on his show here in a little bit. Someone like Tucker is kind of affirming this rumor about Barack Obama. I'm going to start listening a little bit more. So here, listen. I don't know if Tucker's just going crazy right-wing conspiracy at this point or not, but or if all these rumors that we've been hearing throughout the years with everything just are kind of true. And our mainstream media journalists just suck ass. Like, this is kind of Tucker admitting that he sucked ass too. Like, I was just a part of he was a part of the train as well, and he didn't report on this. He's saying there was a lot of stuff he couldn't report on, and he could have at the time, and he chose not to. But I'm glad to see that he's finally coming out with some of these things. So here we go. Tucker and Adam Carolla talking about Barack Obama's.
You know, everybody I knew, the world I lived in Northwest DC, like everyone works either directly for the government or is a parasite on government effectively, including people I love and know really well. And the media is too, by the way. I mean, the media is reporting on government, but it's also dependent on government. You know, in 2008, it became really clear that Barack Obama had been having sex with men and smoking crack. And a guy came forward, Larry Sinclair, and said, I'll sign an affidavit.
We now know that it wasn't Hunter Biden's bag of coke in the White House. It was left over from the Obama administration.
And he did. I'll take a lie detector. And he did. I smoked crack with Barack Obama and had sex with him. Well, that was obviously true. Nobody reported it, not because they were squeamish about sex or drugs, but because the Obama campaign said anyone who reports on this gets no access to the Obama campaign. And so they didn't report on it. So that happens. That's just one small example, but that happens all the time with lots of different issues.
Now,
and
do you believe that transpired, or do you believe the guy is legitimate, or both?
Oh, the Larry Sinclair story? Oh, that definitely happened. Oh, for sure. I mean, I've talked to Larry Sinclair about it, and definitely it happened. I mean, Larry Sinclair's been in and out of prison during one period. I mean, 40 years ago, he was in and out of prison. He's got a criminal record by definition. He's, poor. He's got a disordered life. He's missing a tooth. Like, he's not, an Atlantic fellow. He's not going to the Aspen Ideas Festival. I think he has a record of deception. Obviously, he does. But this story, if you listen to it in detail, is clearly true. I mean, I'm going to do an interview with him and you can hear it. And again, it's not going to change the world that Barack Obama likes dudes. I think this was well known. Barack Obama said so himself in a letter to his girlfriend. And by the way, that's kind of Barack Obama's business. I'm not attacking him for liking dudes. I'm just saying the amount of lying in the media about it was unbelievable. Like, people knew this was true, and it was quite obviously true at the time. And people who covered the campaign didn't say anything about it because they didn't want to lose access to the campaign. And that happens all the time up and down government. So it's almost like if you have a housekeeper, you think, she works for me. But if you have a housekeeper long enough, you realize, well, you actually work for her, and you get caught up in her dramas. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's a weird dynamic where you switch places with people.
And he's pretty much talking about how government runs are because of loss of access. They might lose access. This is how government runs our journalistic corporations and chooses which stories they can report on. And we all know that Barack Obama also modernized the Smith-Month Act, allowing the government to lie through the media as well. So there's a bunch of things going on right there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're approaching the hour mark, and this is Neighborhood News Hour. Sorry, getting a little slow sometimes at jumping off at the get-go. I was a little late, so I do apologize. I was getting my notes in order. I will be back Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Aaron Adler, get your butt ready. You're more than welcome to come on the show. I'm starting to get back in the groove, starting to get warmed up again. So I will be broadening the direction of the show a little bit. It won't just be me on the camera. I'm gonna do my caveman cooking again. I want to do some of my some little workout videos to give all you guys some tips out there, and just some other fun stuff as I go along. It's along with my research, my basic core is my research and my conspiracy theories, and I won't be ignoring those. So, all right, watch out for what you're putting in your mouth. Labor Day is coming up. There's the I forgot that was the reason that I showed you the gene-edited beef and the gene-edited pigs and the gene-edited mosquitoes. Labor Day weekend is coming up. So use your Osprey, get those gene-edited mosquitoes away from your body. Hide yourself from their hide your scent from the mosquitoes. And also be wary of what you put into your mouth. Is it a gene-edited hot dog? Is it a gene-edited burger patty? Ask the cook before you eat. You don't want to become a mutant after you get infected by your gene-edited mosquito, and after you eat your gene-edited burger. You're just going to need an mRNA vaccine to get healthy after that. That's the plan of the Bill Gates deep state. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for tuning in once again.